Hi, I'm Irene Wong. I have been a ballroom dancer for 14 years. I'm also a co-owner for a ballroom shop called DANCEWEAR Works. Since I have been competing in the ballroom world, I always trying to understand what the judges looking for so I can do better. So I create this series called Ask the Judges. So hopefully the judges can give us their perspective, what they're looking for. So I have been asked some friends and fellow students and see what other questions to ask them. And I hope to address some of your questions as well. So we can all be a better dancer, better competing in the dance world. So if you have questions for the judges, please in the comment sections, list out all the questions that you want to ask because I'll continue to ask different judges and get their opinions. So hope you like what I'm doing. Please give me a thumbs up and follow my channel by subscribe it and also click the little bell button so when I have a new video comes out, you'll be notified.
Today I have Andrew Phillips with me and welcome Andrew. So Andrew is a certified judicator and also studio owner and a couple competitive event organizers like Miami Vibes, right? And Commonwealth Classics. So he also is very well-known and prestigious ballroom dancers. When he retired in 2003, he was second in the United States and then 7th in the world for the Latin competitor, professional Latin competitor dance world. So win a lot of titles and very, very successful. So I'm so grateful that you're willing to spend time with us and share your knowledge with us. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely.
So in this Ask the Judge series, and we're going to have a few questions, and a lot of us as a competitor want to know. So the first thing I want to ask is that what is the most important thing do you look for at the competitive dancer in a competition?
I think it's a very difficult to answer just one sentence. I think it's almost the same thing as for you girls when you go shopping. If I'll say to you, you walk into a store, which even the store that you like, right? Do you look for something specific right away? Most probably not. I mean, you look for something that attracts you, something that gives you like, oh, this is a nice piece. So I would say in dancing it's kind of the same thing because we look in the comparison of different people. So it's not necessarily that I have a standard for footwork, a standard for head, and standard for the body action, a standard for the feet action. There are some standards, but when we judge, we don't judge according to that. Only when you dance proficiency level, that's a different story. Proficiency is exactly where I judge against some sort of criteria. When we judge a regular competition, we judge person X against person Y. So in a sense, in that sense, I will say who is more perfect looking, perfect execution, perfect transfer of the weight, perfect, depends on which style we're dancing. It's body action, soften your knees, hip rotations, arm movement. So it's basically all of those things in together.
So these are comparisons when you see people.
So in a way, you might not be even perfect. You might end up first. Simply because
nobody's perfect anyway. So
correct. So in a sense, it's a very much question of somebody has to be first and somebody has to be second, right? So at the end of the day, you must mark something, even if it's the best of the best. And sometimes the most difficult thing it's when people are somewhat equal, but one maybe has a little bit better posture and the other one has a better movement. So that becomes to me more of a different judgment, because in a sense, neither of them are perfect, but one has one quality, one has the other quality. And that's a question of each judge probably will judge differently what they will prefer more.
So what's your preparation then? Put you on the spot. What will you prefer?
As a personally, I'm very often judged on the potential. So
what does it mean, potential?
Potential, that means what we have in our body, stored in our body, that will be able to develop better. So if I see somebody talented, I would probably judge them. Even so today they don't perform so well, I would be way much more prefer to give them encouragement by giving
Okay, so for me as a competitive dancer, how to show my talents, right? Because I want to enhance my dancing. So from what you judge, what can I do to show that I'm more talented in that sense?
The first most important thing that I would say to you every time you go on a lesson with any coach or anybody who can help you, it's like you go into a psychologist. The first thing you need to know is to figure out what your strengths, what are your weaknesses. And then if you don't know yourself so well, so the first question I always ask on a lesson with somebody, I ask, do you know what your strong parts?
I know mine.
Because to me, if you don't know it's like you opening a business against somebody's business, right? And you decide to compete against that other business. Do you understand what this person has? What do you have against them? How can you become competitive to attract all the customers from that store to that store? That to me is a very, very good comparison to what competition is all about, because nobody's going to be perfect, but you competing for that customers. Judges are the customers. So in that sense, you have to sort of think about, we will have to shop somewhere. We have the money to spend. That first place will be given to somebody, right? So obviously I have this money, I have desire to spend, but why would I choose this store versus this store? That's how you have to think about. So obviously you have to maybe enhance your storefront. You know how you said about those rhinestones? Maybe that's exactly those rhinestones are to enhance that attraction, right? So somebody puts all these labels around, all this storefront is decorated to a point where somebody's attracted to this. But some people like a much more classical look. So somebody, you go on Fifth Avenue or Madison Avenue stores, and there is only one thing on the display. They have only one thing. And people who are very sophisticated like that whole idea, just one. And somebody like bargain shopping. So it depends on the judges. It could be always different results. But you have to be very clear to your strategy of what you consider to be the right thing. So if you are very, very long arms, long legs, long torso, that means probably you're going to have a very beautiful lines. So maybe this is what you should spend most of the time on, creating how beautiful lines are. So in a sense, that's probably what you should enhance more. I'm not by any means trying to say that you should regret everything, not to pay attention.
Focus, basically your message, the key message, focus on your strength, know your strength, focus on it, and extra focus on your strength.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, that's exactly what will sell off.
Great, competitive advantage. So I was in technology marketing.
Because at the end of the day, if you develop that advantage to a higher level, you achieve the level that nobody else can achieve.
Right.
That makes sense. Because
make a lot of sense.
You're already somewhere here. If you keep developing that, you achieve some level that somebody who doesn't have that advantage would never be able to even ever achieve this, because they don't even have to, they don't start from the same place, right? If you have long arms, I mean, if you stretch those arms, you will have those arms so stretched out. There is somebody who's short arms, even if they stretch
like me.
he would never go that far. So at the end of the day, knowing that how beautiful your hands are, you should develop that to a degree that somebody will say, I don't care what she's doing with her feet, but those arms to die for. And all of a sudden you sway the shoppers to your store, right?
Makes sense. I now know what I need to do. That is such a good thing. So I'm fast, so I'm going to focus on that. I'm short, petite.
Yes, exactly. And then obviously knowing your weaknesses, you should make sure you don't completely neglect them. So you're not like, if you cannot turn, if you somehow you censor sense of center is not quite
Me, like me.
the right position, you probably should spend some time to be decent about, right? So if you, same like in the store, if you all of a sudden know for sure that in your product that element is lacking, and people always come back and sort of say, yeah, it's great, but that's always kind of, and then they drop that purchasing that item simply because of that thing, you should at least bring it up to a point where it doesn't bother them so much.
Make a lot of sense.
So obviously you might not be Speedy Devil, right? Spinning like this, but you should go in with some sort of a sense of center, right? So all of a sudden your turns don't look like, oh, I'm scared, and you tense up while
I'm falling.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So you tense up, you're scared of all of those things, and becomes an issue of that it's so drags the opposite way that, again, shoppers walks out of your business, right? So
Makes sense.
purchase that item.
So based on what you mentioned, so do you see, that's a question because I'm a costume business. People, a lot of people want to put a lot of stones and expensive stone in their costume and dress and how they look. To you, it sounds to me is important.
I think we can say that everything is important. Like for business, everything is important. But is your storefront as important as what you sell? So it is important to, when you walk onto the dance floor and you look apart. So let's not call how many stones. If somebody has 5,000 stones and somebody has only 1,000 stones, somebody's with a 5,000 stones will win. Nothing like that. But if you walk onto the dance floor and you appear like, oh, she probably knows what she's doing. If you look like a mess and the hair is everywhere and the dress maybe handmade, and again, like all of this obviously kind of damps my expectations, right? But all of a sudden this person start dancing like, whoa, do you think I'm gonna care how many rhinestones that dress have? Whether the dress is crooked like this, I don't really care. Because all of a sudden your product in a store is so much better, right?
Makes sense.
You have to make sure you overcome that feeling of shoppers have to come to your store. So if you walk looking like a mess, I already have that less expectations. So then you have to really convince me with that much more dancing. So certainly it makes sense how you dress, how you put your hair, whether you have that great teacher next to you, because in a sense, it's right away my expectation that teacher probably taught you well. There is all of this a little bit makes influence, but does it make a final decision? By any means, no. Because at the end of the day, you're still going to be judged on what's happened as the music starts, what happens as you make your first step, as you make your first movement. I can see right away whether you're strong on your leg or you're not strong on your leg. I can see right away whether you use your core to move or use your peripheral muscles to move, right? So I can see that immediately. So if you have this world champion, Donnie Burns, next to you, right? And all of a sudden you're still not moving anywhere. I mean, having Donnie Burns is not going to help you.
That makes so much sense. I think this is a great, recommendation, at least now keep me back in thinking about my strengths and weakness as well. So, okay, another key question. So it's a little bit political. Someone feel that, if you do a lot of coaching with some judges or you dance with some well-known competitive and you automatically mark, even though I dance very well, so I may not mark as well. So I heard some feedback with some students. So I'm sure you probably heard some people talk about that before. So what's your answer address that question?
Well, let's talk about first dancing with a pro. Like I kind of mentioned this a little bit already.
Right.
There is certainly truth to that, but it was obviously sometimes truth is taken too far, right? So the truth to that is simply that, what I just said. Because you're dancing with somebody who's knowledgeable, most probably from the very beginning, from the very start, they start teaching you what your final product should look like. So in a sense, they are much more onto you for using your core, for using your feet, for using your center, for using your coordinations, because their own expectations are higher. So obviously having a pro who actually knows enough about dancing forces you to dance more. So in that sense, that's where that truth of having a higher level of coach next to you, dancing to you, is helping you right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do I think that sometimes it's get too far, and some judges simply because they recognize that pro sometimes give you a little bit better marks? I'm sure it exists too. I cannot personally say that that's my driving force. As you can hear, I am very, very often try to see what, but simply because we're not dancing with the shopping bags over our heads, I can't help it not to recognize. But that goes to even just because I know you, right? I probably already have some sort of a predisposition who you are. So then all of a sudden, you probably already are much more favorable, in my opinion, than somebody who I don't know, right? Simply because of that. And then, of course, if you don't dance well as this person, knowing you is not going to help, right? And so obviously there is still so I can see how there is a truth to that sentence, but at the same time, it might be taken too far, right? So taken too far as how much is really create that much of a difference, right? It's only making, maybe I would agree, it only makes a difference when it's that close together. So let's say somebody has a better feet and somebody has a better flow. So then it's a question of like, I could give it both of them, this one and that one. So who should I give? I'll give to somebody who I actually know and I feel like so I can see how that can work a little bit more. If it's a far part of knowing somebody, probably not going to work. That's
make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Then addressing the idea of coaches, right? I would say exactly the same thing, back to that analogy of the store. If you advertise more, does your business have more success of attracting customers?
Market data connection reestablished.
What do you think?
I think this is good. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Then to me, that's exactly the same thing. So if you're taking lessons, that's basically an advertisement. So you're spending money to advertise yourself. So more people know you, more people understand who you are, they understand what your potential, they understand all of this. So yes, I would say it helps because you're taking lessons with a lot of people, because it's you spending money on advertisement, right? So with advertisement, is it true that we're gonna buy I don't know, Crest toothpaste more than some I don't know, whatever brand that we don't know? We walk into the store, there's this one makes clean the teeth and whitening the teeth, and this one cleans the teeth, but I know this brand much better. Poof, you go for that, right?
That makes sense. It's a human nature. So I think that is, make a lot of sense on that. So, okay, this is really good. I like you really give a true, real comment on that. And, with the time, so if you give one advice for competitive like me, what would you be as the best advice or one advice or what we should do?
I think dancing is should be treated exactly the same thing. You need to know why you're doing this.
Connection reestablished.
You need to know what's their final goal, right? Because a lot of times people say, "Oh, I want to be the best I can." That's like almost the same as saying, world peace. I mean, I love that word, and everybody keeps saying this, but it's such a broad thing to say. It's which we would never achieve, right? So when somebody says to me, "I want to be the best I can," it's almost to a point where I don't understand what they want, right? Can you be more specific? Can you figure out, I'm doing this because I want to achieve some sort of a level in dancing, right? That's what professionals do. They want to achieve some sort of a level in dancing. They will say Blackpool, US, and so if you say to yourself, okay, I want to be competitive, right? I want to achieve some sort of level competitively. Then there is a different training comes with that. I want to be able to have the ability to dance with anybody in the world, right? So have a very good skill of sensing the partner. So that's a different skill altogether, because competitors are very limited in the sense of what they can do. And a lot of times when you take them socially dancing, they're not the best dancers. And then the people who actually do a lot of social dancing, they probably not the best competitors, but they can follow anything, and they will flow with you. So that's already two different things. So being true to all of this, I think probably the most important thing. Like, you have to figure out why you're spending money, why you because it's not a cheap sport, right? Are you trying to achieve this a little bit more than a hobby, right? That's more competitive kind of level. So then it's a question of, are you willing to put time besides the money? Because you have to put a lot of time, because you now become seriously competitor. You all of a sudden decided to compete against Pepsi Colas and Coca Colas and make your own brand soft drink. Whoa, good luck, right? Because they have billions of dollars. So all of a sudden you have to compete against the top of the top, and who probably has a lot of money, probably have a lot of the spare time to do. So being that kind of, if you have a goal, then you can realistically come to all of these conclusions. What should I do? And then maybe lower your goal, maybe pick up your goal and say, I can pick up my demands of what I can do with my with my time, with my money. So I think that's probably the most important thing too. And nobody knows this better than yourself. So that's the part we all can give you an advice, but unless you know what you want yourself, it's going to be, a lot of times it's a waste of time and money and everything, because you don't become, the money is not going direct.
Okay.
Right?
Focus on the goal. So set your goal and objective. So
Yeah.
this is perfect. So I want to be finalist in Ohio, for example. Yes.
Yes. So if that becomes the goal, that's already much more specific. So it's not something like, oh, I want to be the best of the best. What does this mean? Compared to what? Are you comparing yourself to Ulyss of the world, right? That's one thing. Are you comparing yourself to best? What is the best? I mean, it's a very, very broad thing. Like I said, world peace. It's such a broad, right?
To define it and was like, I just want to have fun. Then that's a different things, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I want to have fun. So obviously, I'm doing this for my own health benefit, because I hate running on treadmill. So I'm much rather do this running this routine with the partner, with the music. So I will have much more fun. So obviously, we're not going to stop and start talking about how that hip works and where that, because you right now want to sweat and you want to run like the same as treadmill, right? But if you want to run as a treadmill, I don't think you're going to be beating Yulia at any time, right? So there's two different things, and depends on this. Obviously, then your teacher knows very, very well what to suggest as what's the plan of actions, and then you become very, very clear about, because obviously you're smart, you're analytical, your brain is analytical, so you become very clear about what my next step should be, and then you stop wasting your time on the lesson, right? Because if you just want to run around and just dance everything with the music, yes, it's great. You're going to be skinny forever. But I don't think you're going to be that precise about every step.
That's beautiful. That's so great. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with me. I already get so much out of it. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I hope you like what I'm doing here and like the video and the content shared by the judges. And I really help you to grow your dancing and be a better dancer, be a better competitor in the dance world. So if you like what I'm doing, again, please comment and give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and click the little bell button so when I have a new video comes out, you'll be notified. Keep on dancing.